Since 1923, we've been supporting Scotland's mental health. Samh, the Scottish Association for Mental Health.
One in 4 Scots will experience mental health problems. This means that if it doesn't happen to you, it will happen to someone you know. In the same way that we all have physical health that needs looking after through exercise and eating well, every one of us has mental health to look after too. Positive mental health and well-being can be seen as a successful performance of mental functions, resulting in productive activities, fulfilling relationships with others, and an underlying belief in our own and others' dignity and worth, and the ability to adapt to changes and cope with stressful life events. A range of psychological, biological, social and economic factors can contribute to our mental health and well-being, and anyone can be affected. This DVD will show you how just some of the ways you can promote positive mental health, but there are many others. You just need to find out what works for you.
This is a poem called Recovery. I went to a recovery meeting today, but I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how it would turn out, but it turned out for the best. I had many stories of hope and care, opened up a whole new world for me. I did creative writing, poetry and acting. For the first time in many years, it set me free. And in the freedom I found today, in some way though, sometimes in torment, I did for myself find some release. Through acting out a situation in front of over 100 people, I found my inner peace. Now I want to do more of these things to help people. I have the need. I feel I have a story to tell. It's like a habit I must feed. The way I feel is addictive. I've not felt this way in many years. If this is what recovery is, I may have shed my last tears. For my life has not always been happy, and for a time there's been much self-harm and fears. But today I felt like it was useful and needed. I felt like it was wanted too. I feel like this is a path I must take for my journey to go through. But it might not always be easy, but it is very worthwhile. Today is only the start of my journey, but it really made me smile.
The Volunteer Hub at the Royal Edinburgh Hospital provides guidance, support and advice to service users who wish to volunteer. Many individuals we see have low self-esteem and confidence and often have very little structure to their week. Volunteering can help with these issues. It enables people to establish a routine and structure. It can give a real sense of meaning and a reason to get up and out. This in turn greatly impacts on an individual's self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth. Volunteering can help you develop new skills by trying new things, meeting new people, making new friends. A lot of people that we see are interested in outdoor voluntary work, such as gardening. Many people comment on the benefits of this to their physical health, and this in turn has a positive impact on their mental health.
I came in here, I felt very lost and afraid, and someone suggested that I come over to the Hive. And there was a music group, and I hadn't played the guitar in over 20 years. And the second time I came over, I picked up the guitar, got involved, and it's been absolutely amazing. I was able for the first time to ever sing in public with maybe a dozen or so folks around. It's certainly given me confidence, and it's given me a sense of integration and being amongst a group without being afraid.
I'm Laura Wilson from Edinburgh Community Yoga. We found that working with yoga for mental health patients or people who suffer with mental health problems, there's been all kinds of benefits, as well as the obvious things to do with working with the body. You're increasing endorphins, you're increasing fitness and strength and flexibility. There's secondary benefits to do with the way that you feel about yourself. It builds on their own self-esteem and start to live with the mental health problems that they're suffering.
A healthy diet can have many good outcomes on how we feel and how our mental health is. A healthy diet isn't necessarily a silver bullet for people with issues around mental health. However, following an unhealthy diet can have a significant effect on many symptoms and the way people feel. So if we remove the sort of unhealthy aspects and move towards a healthier diet, it can have a big effect on people. So what we really want to focus on are things such as complex carbohydrates, so not going for refined carbohydrates such as white bread and white pasta. Plenty of fruit and vegetables, and we need protein for good hormones, a little at each meal. Oily fish for the omega-3, which can help the brain and the mood. We also need to do more practical things such as eating regularly and making sure we don't miss meals, keeping ourselves hydrated. And also one of the ways that Red Hall Walled Garden is great is that people are outside a lot, so they're getting their vitamin D. And unfortunately there aren't great food sources of vitamin D, so the gardening is really important for this. We would really counsel people to be careful with the amount of refined carbs they have, in particular sugary drinks and caffeine. When people feel better, they can cook up in bulk, for example, and get stuff away in the freezer for the bad days when we don't feel quite so good. And we would also look at budgeting. Again, how to eat healthily on less money.
Stress is a normal part of everyday life. Unfortunately, sometimes stress levels can build up to the point where we start to worry that we won't be able to cope. When stress levels get to this extent, it can significantly start to interfere with our sense of self-confidence and sense of well-being. Fortunately, there are a number of things we can do to try and reduce our stress levels. One thing that's fundamentally quite important is being able to get a good night's sleep on a regular basis. This is important because when we're tired, we're far more prone to develop stressful thoughts, and it's more difficult for us to deal with problems when they arise. Another useful tip is to identify and try to tackle things that we've been avoiding doing. When we avoid doing something, we become anxious at the thought of tackling it. We also start to become quite self-critical as we know that we're avoiding something we should be doing. An alternative strategy is to try and prioritise what we need to do, plan how we're going to achieve these things, and then put your plan into action. If, however, you find you're struggling with stress on a day-to-day basis, or you're making decisions on what you can and can't do based on your stress levels, then it might be an idea to go and get some help with your stress. Don't feel that you need to struggle on with it by yourself. Other people can help. Go and see your GP, as your GP will be aware of all the services that are available to help. These can be things like information classes, psychological interventions, or medication, all of which can be useful in helping manage stress.
Since 1923, we've been supporting Scotland's mental health. Samh, the Scottish Association for Mental Health.